There was 22 characters quarantined in this building, and we are going to rank them all. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Entertainment, and we're going to rank all the characters from the movie Quarantine. Now, the movie review is available on the channel, so if you haven't seen it, go check that out first, then come back here, and you can hear us give our thoughts on all the characters in this movie. We enjoyed the movie. We gave it an 8 out of 10. Very enjoyable movie, especially if you're a horror fan. Felt claustrophobic. It was scary. Had a good atmosphere. Survival horror. It was a great movie. So I think if you want to go and watch something good, go and watch the movie. Then watch our review and then come back and watch this. But here we go. 22 people. Let's start at the very bottom of the list. And we have Shahir. She was basically a female living in the building that couldn't speak English, and for that reason alone, she's going last on our list.
She has to go last, didn't speak a word, didn't understand anything, and died because of that. May as well just kept the door locked.
Yeah, probably should have just stayed in her apartment and never came out. In 21st place, we have Nadif, which was her son, boyfriend, brother. Not too sure the relation, but he also couldn't speak English, and it didn't end good for him either. Yeah, he died.
He did die, but he had a wee bit more to him than her.
He had a better death. We seen him when he reanimated. We seen him get involved a bit more, and he was put down by one of the main characters, Jake, and he had one of the better deaths on the show, so therefore we ranked him above her. Moving on to number 20, we've got the cleaning lady, a woman that we actually never get to see alive. She kind of just randomly appears out of nowhere
and falls on the floor.
Yeah, when we first go into Miss Espinosa's room, she's not there, but the second time we go into her room, she is there, and she's just laying there dead. So yeah, the cleaning lady coming in at number 20. Moving in at number 19, we have the first CDC officer. Now, this guy didn't really get to do much. He did come in, suit it and boot it, but that didn't stop him from getting bitten. That did not stop him from getting infected. And then, just like the other infected, he began to roam around the building. But for the couple of minutes that he was in the movie, you know, it was an intense section of the movie where they're trying to open up George's head and try and get a brain sample for the so-called rabies that was running rampant around this apartment. Coming at number 18, we have Wanda. She is the wife of Yuri, who was pretty much, I believe he was kind of like the apartment general manager, maybe?
Yeah, it was a weird gimmick that he had. He had the master keys.
Yeah, he seemed to be, I don't know, general manager, supervisor, something along those lines. Yuri was not a bad character, but Wanda, I believe, was just his wife that didn't really do anything. So, yeah, for us, she is down at 18th. 17th, we have the Thin Man. The Thin Man is actually not a man. He is very thin, though. Well, he was a man. He's not anymore. He's dead. He's
the infected man.
He is up in the attic, so we really don't get introduced to the Thin Man until the final 5 minutes of the movie. However, the Thin Man was very creepy. He did take out, I believe, the two of the main characters as well, so I think the Thin Man is deserving to be a little bit higher up than last. It would have been good, I guess, to have seen more of the Thin Man, but I feel like he really did add it to his element that when they finally did come across him, they were trapped in a room with him and they had no form of light or vision, and he was basically, you know, just stalking his prey in the air.
I think it's safe to say that maybe with him, because the sickness has evolved over months, he might be, you know, the next level.
Now, we also seen that he was in the attic, and we hadn't seen him in months. The person that lived in the attic was not seen in months, and he had a lot of paper clippings about this infection and the spread, and he also owned a shitload of rats. So it's very fair to say the Thin Man might have been the one that created all of this. He could have been doing dodgy experiments, and
he was the mastermind.
Yeah, so the Thin Man could be responsible for this whole outbreak, but we don't really know. He's coming in at 17th. Coming in at number 16, we have Miss Espinosa. She's the whole reason the police department and the fire department got called to this building. The residents were worried about Miss Espinosa, and rightfully so, because it wasn't long before she was biting into people. Now, she did single-handedly take down a police officer and a firefighter, which I guess, from her perspective, I mean, that's pretty impressive. But
Stone Cold Killer.
But from our perspective, we're like, damn it, she's wiped out two of the, not main characters, but she's wiped out two important characters for sure. Two characters in leadership positions that you think would have a big impact in this sort of scenario where, you got a lot of people quarantined inside a building, and she single-handedly, wiped out 50%.
Hitting two of her heavy hitters.
Yeah, so Miss Espinosa did pretty well. At number 15, we had Brianna. She didn't really offer much, as kids don't. However, what I will say is she wasn't annoying, and that's pretty much the best compliment I can give a child. I'm not a big fan of child actors. I don't think they really add much to TV series. Now, listen, our movies, you do get some that are really good. Obviously, films like Home Alone, they are centred around a kid, and but it's not often, in my opinion, that you get movies. Let's be real, most kids in movies are fucking annoying.
Yep.
They are. But she wasn't, so, I'll give her a bit of credit. She's in 15. She eventually...
Minimal lines. That's what helps.
She eventually bites her mother, and she was pretty much sick from, I think it was her dog, Max, that got her sick.
Close contact with the Max boy.
Coming in number 14, we have Elise, who was a resident that we did not really get to see, but she did make her attack when 4 members of the group were trying to get a signal on the TV. They took off to try and see what the news were reporting. Elise then ambushed them in the room, and everyone else was saddened to learn that Elise was no longer with us. Maybe a little bit high for Elise, but...
I'll tell you what, this seemed to be a very tight-knit apartment block.
Yeah, they seem to like each other, but maybe that's the case when you're in an apartment block.
In America.
But I mean, in the UK, there's some shit flats where you just wouldn't want to be associated with anybody in your apartment.
Yeah, no matter how many people are up the door here, it just wouldn't be getting opened.
Yeah, so, I don't know, but, maybe it was a close-knit community like you said. Coming in at number 13, we have Sadie, and she was, I believe, the apprentice of Bernard. I'm not quite sure what the living arrangements were like, but she was living with Bernard, but I don't think they were in a relationship, but she was 20 years his junior. It was a bit strange.
Bit weird. Bit suspect for Bernard. And he kind of hinted...
Well, hold on, she's a fucking adult woman, so... It's not like she's a kid.
Yeah, but he's letting his student live with him.
It's a bit weird, but, whatever.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's a fucking nonce, but... Weird behaviour for Bernard.
Alright, let's move on. In 12th place, we have James McCready. Officer James. Doesn't really get to do much, to be fair. But he's a police officer, so we'll give him a bit of credit here. We'll put him higher up the list than most.
He seemed to be a bit more, have a bit more authority about him than the other police officer. He died way sooner.
His potential got wiped out.
Yep. Could you have flipped it and maybe would it, could it have really added much more? Potentially, but I like the fact it was killing people who might have appeared to have been better.
Yeah. Coming in at number 11, we have Bernard. Yep. And Bernard had a really good death, so I thought his death scene was great. He also seemed a little bit knowledgeable, and he seemed to be one of the smarter members of the apartment. I think he's definitely somebody you would want on your side. I think this guy would offer a lot of wisdom, and he's like a cool head. He was smart,
but by the end... He wasn't very smart.
No, yeah, because he kind of threw his head out the window and just
sort
had
of
it
cutting
taken
all
off.
The quarantine tape and barriers and good night.
Yeah, Bernard was a decent character. Coming in number 10, we have Kathy. She was the mother of Brianna. Her husband took their dog Max to the vet, and the husband and Max never returned. She ended up telling her daughter to run after getting bitten in the neck by her daughter. Unfortunately, because she was kind of out of control, she was handcuffed to the bottom of the stairwell. And this was pretty much the end for Kathy because she could not escape. And when the infected managed to spill out into the landing, the bottom floor landing of the apartment, then she had nowhere to go. Yeah,
once you're what can you do when you're handcuffed?
It was game over for Kathy. Coming in at number 9, we have Yuri. We mentioned him earlier when we were talking about his wife. He was the general manager. Let's say, supervisor, the kind of, guy that...
The keymaster.
The keymaster.
The key holder.
The apartment. And, I liked Yuri. He was helpful. He was cooperating with everybody. In the end, though, he does get bitten.
Could he be the landlord?
No, because the landlord would suggest he owns it. He didn't look like a guy that owned an apartment. If he owned that apartment, if he owned that entire building, I doubt he would live there. Because let's
Maybe
be
let's
honest,
keep a close eye on
it looked like a bit of a shite apartment, didn't it?
It did.
It didn't look like somewhere where someone with money would stay. So I'm going to assume that like the people that couldn't speak English didn't look like they were staying there and had a shitload of money.
True.
So I'm going to assume that.
Maybe they had a shitload of non-speak English money.
Well, anyway, I like Judy. Coming at number 8, we had Scott, the cameraman. I actually thought Scott was pretty funny. He offered some like good one-liners, and we did see him sometimes freaking out, and he would just randomly like kill things.
He was
bash
funny,
things.
but he was a shite bag merchant.
He would bash things with the camera. Look at that rat! That big rat was coming straight at me. Stomped the rat to death, and maybe that rat was infected because that rat did come at him, and then we obviously know later on that the Finn man had a shitload of rats in his attic. So maybe the rat was coming at him, and could the rats potentially have started this? Could it be the rats that maybe started this entire thing? Obviously, we know the Finn man was working on it, but could it be maybe the rats escaped? One of the rats bit the Finn man, then one of the rats got out, and maybe Max the dog attacked one of the rats, and then that meant Max the dog got infected. So I think definitely the rats were probably the source of the infection. I think they are what caused it. I mean, the Finn man might have worked on it.
Definitely spread it. That's how normal rabies works. Rats tend to pass it on to other animals.
Yeah, so I'm gonna blame the rats here. Plus, whose room were the rats in? Was it?
Miss Espinosa's, I'm pretty sure.
No, it was someone else's. Who's that woman they took downstairs?
Elise?
No, she was found dead. Doesn't really matter, but like the rats were there.
Not Elise. What's the other one? I know her name. We've talked about her name. Not Wanda.
Doesn't matter. Let's move on.
Point is, guys, it was animals that were doing this.
Yeah. Coming in at number 7, we have maybe it was Sadie.
That's it.
Or was it? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Let's move on. Coming in at number 7, we have it wasn't Sadie because she was staying with Bernard.
I'm pretty sure it was. Doesn't fucking matter.
It doesn't matter. Moving into number 7, we have the CDC officer, the second one, the one that matters, the one that managed to escape the.
Actually, explained a wee bit more about the entire situation.
He did, but I mean, he didn't last long, so I don't know where he ran off to. But even then, you can see he sacrificed his team. He also sacrificed Lawrence. He locked him behind.
He eventually got to the top and they locked him in.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess kind of like karma because he locked his buddy and Lawrence behind. He locked them into their death, and then when they got upstairs and the surviving group seen that he was bitten, they decided to try and lock him out. Coming at number 6, we have Randy. I mean, Randy didn't really feature much. He was a bit of an arsehole, but he did make a very good point. He wanted to go back to his room. He was obviously a bit drunk. Danny was telling him, look, you're going to stay down here. And Randy rebooted that with a rebuttal and said, well, here, if we're all sick, if we're all infected, or at least if some of us are infected and some of us are sick, shouldn't we separate rather than sitting around here
conjugate
in this small, closed space? And I agree with him. I mean, let's be real. If there is a sickness going around, wouldn't the best thing be everyone go back inside their apartment and lock the doors rather than let's all group downstairs and be within close proximity of each other? I mean, come on.
Yeah, the only thing I can argue is like a protocol thing. Everyone's got to get to the assembly point sort of thing. And it's also like a head count for the authorities. But yeah, it's a unique situation.
They could have went to doors and they opened the door and went, right, okay, blah, 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 right, go back in.
Yeah, but if it's an assembly point thing, then you can't.
I know, but true, I mean, look at fucking COVID-19, for God's sake. So you need to take your 6 meters, or 6 feet when there's that, but this deadly shit, I mean, let's all sit downstairs. Coming to number 5, we have George Fletcher. Now, Fletcher dies around, or not, he doesn't die, well, he does kind of die and get bitten around the same time as James. However, George has the benefit of being in the opening 15 minutes of the movie, and he basically, is a big part of showing Angela around the fire department. So we feel like his character does get fleshed out a lot in the opening 10-15 minutes, whereas that didn't really happen with James.
No, it didn't. But you could argue, I liked him. I think he died too early for me.
Yeah, he also placed a bet with Jake that he would sleep with Angela by the end of the night for $100.
It was mic'd up.
But yeah, that bet.
He should have muted his mic.
That bet didn't really work out for him.
No, it didn't.
He's $100 down.
Some could say he broke his neck.
Coming in number 4, we have Lawrence. I like Lawrence. It's a shame that he died He was played by Greg German. Well, I mean, everybody on this list kind of died, but he was locked in locked in like the outbreak room by the CDC officer when Fletcher, sorry, and James began to turn, and he was like kind of just bashing on the door trying to get out.
Help me!
And they attacked him from behind.
It's always good to have a guy of intelligence,
and that was pretty much his death. But I mean, yeah, he was the one that kind of. He shed a little bit of light on the situation at the beginning. He said this situation seemed like rabies. And of course he was right, because the CDC officers pretty much confirmed this when they entered the building too. So Lawrence, obviously, he was a vet.
And he wasn't a doctor. He did say they need a brain sample, not blood.
Yeah, so he knew what he was talking about.
Yep.
Coming at number 3, we have Officer Danny. I like Danny. Good officer. You know, he did kind of lose his head a little bit during the middle of the film, but I mean, the pressure was getting to him. Everybody was demanding answers. He'd literally just seen his, partner pretty much die, so you can understand maybe why he was getting a little bit frustrated, why he was maybe taking his aggression out on everyone else. But he did lead by example, and in the end, him leading and trying to protect everybody is what essentially led to him getting killed when he got bitten by Brianna. But, no, Danny, that was his downfall. I mean, he approached Brianna and wasn't even fucking looking when she bit into his neck, so...
Yeah, you know what, that was ridiculous.
His death was dumb. His death really was dumb.
But I guess he was a hothead, so maybe you could argue he's not like he was super careful sort of guy. So.
I mean, true, but by the point he dies, it's already been explained that, here, if you get bitten or scratched or blood in you, then you're fucked.
Yeah, because, like, they literally just handcuffed her mum a minute before this because she was bit.
So that's already been explained, and the fact that he approached Brianna, who he knew was sick, and decided to turn his back to her, I mean, come on.
Come on.
Come on,
man.
So I like Danny, but that really did, you know...
You let yourself down, Danny.
Coming at number 2, we have Angela, who was played by Jennifer Carpenter. Big shout out to Dexter, the TV series. But yeah, no, I liked Angela. I think she was likeable. Also, I mean, she was like pretty hysteric throughout the... But I mean, who wouldn't be? Let's be real. We can all sit here and pretend, oh, why are you freaking out? But I mean, come on. No one really wants to be in this apartment. No one wants to be in this building.
I think I added to it, though. I think it felt really real. And that's what I like about it. It didn't feel like a movie. It felt like real.
Yeah, it did feel real. She was.
No, I mean, was it a bit annoying at the end? I think a wee bit, but like, I mean, it's real. It's not. You can't expect someone not to be annoying.
She's in Pitch Black, man, and there's the Thin Man running about.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I don't think it's annoying. I can totally understand why she's. But she was a good reporter as well. I enjoyed the beginning of the movie when they're like basically doing a documentary on the fire station as well. I thought that part was good, and she did seem to, you know, straight away I felt like there was chemistry between Angela, Jake, Scott, and George. Straight away, he felt like it was quite chemistry. Could there perhaps maybe that lasted a wee bit longer? I don't know. But yeah, Angela's coming at number 2. And coming in at number 1, we have Jake. He was played by Jay Hernandez, who was also in Hostel, so maybe this guy is a little bit of a horror fanatic. Maybe he gets around in the horror movies. But I mean, I like Jake. He was obviously he wasn't the main character, but he, for me, was the main protagonist. I mean, he stepped up. He was showing what a lot of people in 2023 would call toxic masculinity. He
stepped up to the task.
He stepped up to the task. He was putting his life on line. He was trying his best to protect people. I mean, you could argue he did just as much as Danny did. Hell, maybe you could argue he did even more. And when he picked up his mallet, his sledgehammer, this guy was pretty much invincible for a long period of time. And you thought he was maybe going to be able to guide Angela and Scott out of the building and help everyone escape. But unfortunately for him, he did get attacked by an infected Yuri. I believe it was Yuri. Yeah, we'll go with Yuri.
It was Yuri. Yuri grabbed him.
And that pretty much was it. His death was kind of like out of nowhere, and it sucked to lose him. But I mean, I guess he had to go because everybody went.
But easily the strongest character in terms of dealing with him. Easily.
Yeah.
Country mile. Like, he didn't do it with a gun.
Yeah, a guy literally just picked up his hammer time. Down.
Triple H, baby.
So yeah, guys, there you go. That is our characters ranked from worst to best, from 22nd to first. Let us know your thoughts down below. Who's your favourite character? And we will catch you in the next one. But until then, we've been Fog Entertainment. Thanks for watching and peace.